I want to start with the obvious news of the day, the big headline news. Trumpcare is dead. Finally, Trumpcare is dead, and it looks as though it may be dead for good. But I do want to take the warnings from the editor. The editor for the New Republic, senior editor for the New Republic, Heath Jeer. He said that just because it looks like Trumpcare is dead doesn't mean you should stop fighting it. Because it's basically like a zombie and it can come back. So you got to decapitate it. You got to cut its limbs off. You got to make sure that it never comes back. And it's important that we think like that, because no sooner than last night, when Mitch McConnell realized that he lost 2 more Republicans, he was not going to be able to pass Trumpcare. As soon as he a replacement, as soon as he realized that, he decided that he wanted to repeal Obamacare without replacement. Now, the Congressional Budget Office said if Republicans take that track, if they go down that road, that means that they would lose, that America would lose potentially 33 million more people off of our insurance rolls. So this laser-like focus and desire to push back against, and not push back, but to undo everything that President Obama achieved with the Affordable Care Act, with Obamacare, they are so focused on repealing it at no matter the cost. Think about it. No matter the cost, they are interested in repealing Obamacare because they have a vendetta against President Obama. Not because this legislation isn't conservative enough. That's the whole reason I'm pointing this out. The legislation is conservative. Obamacare is a conservative piece of legislation. It came from, we talk about it many times, but it comes from the Heritage Foundation. It was first tested in Massachusetts by Governor Mitt Romney, then Governor Mitt Romney. It is a conservative piece of legislation that uses market-based principles to increase the number of people on insurance, that have insurance, and to do whatever it could based on market principles, right? That's the cliche, in order to keep premiums down. But that wasn't enough. That was not good enough for Republicans. They didn't want that because it was passed by a Democrat. It was passed by President Obama. And so long as it's something that was passed by President Obama or a Democrat, it doesn't matter how conservative the legislation was, they have to oppose it. Well, Republicans learned today that opposition for the sake of opposition, even though it's fun and even though it makes it seem like you're efficient, does not give us any indication of whether or not you have the ability to lead. In other words, the Republicans opposed President Obama at every stop for the past 7 years, and now when it's their time to shine, when the stage was fully theirs, they had control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. No one to stop them but themselves, and they destroyed themselves. You can't, I mean, this is, again, I want to be cautious here because the Republicans will come back full swing with everything they have just to spite America in order to assuage their bruised ego. They would perhaps attempt to repeal Obama without a replacement just to get back at Obama and just to stick it to Democrats and stick it to people who oppose them, even if you're not a Democrat. And that goes to show you that they're not interested in what's in the best interest for America. They're interested in what's in the best interest of their ego and what's in the best interest of their political agenda, even at the expense of the most marginalized Americans, elderly, the poor, the sickest. That's who they're willing to hurt for the sake of their vendetta against President Obama and for the sake of their ego. I want to get you in on the conversation, 857-600-0518, but that's the sad reality of it. And so here we are, the Republican Party has demonstrated that they are completely incapable of leading, of running a government, they're completely incapable of managing the United States of America. I mean, they had 7 years, and the best they could come up with was something that was so politically unviable, so politically problematic that it will cost them seats in the 2018 election, which shows you why Mitch McConnell wanted to just repeal Obamacare but not have the effects take place for 2 years, because we know the most important thing is for them to get past the 2018 midterm elections and then screw America. They didn't want America to be aware that what they're doing is trying to screw you after you reelect them. And so here we are. Here we are. We have now demonstrated full on display for the world to see. We see clearly that the Republican Party is completely incapable of leading America, managing America. They're feckless. They're morons. And we cautiously laugh them to scorn, because how do you have the White House, the Senate, and the House, and all you've talked about for 7 and 8 years was repealing and replacing Obamacare, and when it's time to take the test, everybody realizes that you are not prepared to take the test? That's amazing to me. And it's hysterical to me. We can't let our guards down. We can't just revel in the fact that the Republican Party utterly destroyed themselves on this battle, because the reality of it is that they could come back next week and pass some legislation. They could come back the week after that and or just repeal and replace. So we must be ever vigilant. We must make sure that we have all hands on deck, that we are still calling our senators, we're still calling our congressmen, we're still letting them know how expensive of a price they're going to have to pay politically if they do not vehemently oppose this health care coming from the Republican Party. And if they vote for it, if they support it, then we're going to do everything in our power to put them out of power in 2018 and 2020. We have to make sure that they know that in no uncertain terms, because that's the only way that we can keep the pressure on and not let them think that they could just sneak up on us next week and pass this zombie piece of legislation.